And we don't ever talk to our kids to embarrass them or put them down or make them feel less than. That is never the case for us. We always are there to help guide them back into who they originally are, which are amazing children of God. We want to remind them who they are. So nobody's in trouble here. We're all just cleaning up a little bit of the mess that we all created. Hello, everyone. We are Greg and Jacquie Francis, and welcome to High Performance Parenting, where our passionate goal is to encourage you to raise champion children in a crazy world. Every week, we will bring you multiple episodes from our extensive experience of raising our six happy, healthy, successful, godly kids who are confidently equipped to win big in life.
We deeply believe that any parent who is provided with the right knowledge and continual support can raise amazing kids. And when they do, all of our futures get better. If raising up future generations of absolute champions matters to you as much as it does to us, here's how you can contribute. Like and share this podcast with everyone you know. And together, let's embrace this journey of raising champion kids in a crazy world.
Hey guys, welcome back. Super excited to be here chatting with y'all and my hubby. It's been a fun couple of weeks. I don't know what everybody else has been doing this summer, but I feel like our summer has been so busy. Maybe you're like us. We're going to take the summer off. We're going to relax. We're just going to chill. It's been about as far from that as I can think right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm ready for summer to be over.
You know, what's funny is it's like we're ready for summer to be over. I mean, we're not the type like we're ready for our kids to go back to like school or anything like that. That's not us. We're just ready for a little more structure in our life. It feels like we're missing that lately.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like probably most people listening, we can fall prey to summer's here. Boy, we should do things that we normally can't do during the school year. And then next thing you know, it's like this thing and then the next thing and the next thing. And pretty soon we need a summer break from summer break because we've been going 100 miles an hour. I swear to God, it's been a full-time job, like planning VRBOs and airline tickets and everything else. You know, there's a balance with all of this, you know, where it comes to all the different categories that we have to deal with, whether it's finances, whether it's, you know, timing, whether it's the season of our kids and not wanting to miss out on having memories. But at the same time, you can go too far with it, right? Yeah,
we've actually been talking a lot about that lately. And I'm sure many of you guys can relate. You know, you start off the summer and it's like everybody is so excited, like stay up a little bit later, you know, obviously no homework. You know, the chores, you got to keep up with them, but we're all a little lax in keeping up with it. You know, and just in general, like a lot more flexibility that we can just come and go as we want, I guess.
Of course, I just got a text. Any plans next weekend?
From somebody?
From one of our friends up in Washington.
Okay. All right, moving on with our topic.
Might be doing a fishing trip next weekend, too.
It's just so funny because literally now it's almost the end of July. So we're starting August literally next week. And we've been on summer break for about 8 weeks now. Or actually a little bit longer. Our family ended mid-May. So mid-May, all of June, all of July. So 2.5 months. We've been doing summer break pretty well.
Yeah, so summer break at our house, it's a little different because we homeschool. And, you know, it's basically the kids do get a break from doing homework and stuff, or like at least doing it in a structured way,
right?
Because that's normally what we do. We normally have Monday through Friday a certain amount of structure. What do we usually do, like 9 to noon or 1 or something like that? And there's a certain amount of stuff they need to get done. There's a certain amount of responsibility they got to keep. They don't get to do other stuff in place of it. Like, you know, we keep that structure, and then so since then we haven't had that structure. Now we still have them doing book reports, and we still have them. You know, we love having our kids learn in unique ways. Like, for instance, we want to do a trip to visit Yellowstone National Park sometime probably next year. So we had all the kids do a book report on it, you know, like research it, study it, and they have to come up and they have to write it and they have to present it. And they all kind of come up with their own little flavor of how to do it. And now we have them all putting together like a 3-day itinerary of their ideal trip that they would do. So this stuff, you know, keeps them a little bit busy, but still it's not necessarily structured.
Right. Or like we did invite our kids to do some research in gardening. Invite is a polite way of saying they had to do it, but
Well, Abby wanted to, and everybody else just kind of
everybody
came
wants
along.
to at first.
Yeah.
And then reality sets in that the research then needs to produce something. And now we have this amazing garden that needs to be kept up. Yeah. So it's just so funny that we have, gotten to the point where it's like we realize because there hasn't been a lot of structure in our house, other areas of our life has been lacking.
Yeah.
And it's time to reel it back in.
Time to reel it back in. So summer break being over for us is pretty much when golf season starts, right? Golf and cross country.
Well, sports for the kids. So kind of like the structure now of the sports schedule for our kids to start.
And then
now.
when do you actually start them with schoolwork again?
I mean, typically I do it after Labor Day, like the official, like hardcore, we're going to get to it type thing. Because I don't know. I keep hearing people starting school earlier, and all the public schools, private schools, they're all starting like mid-August. When you and I were growing up, there was no school until after Labor Day.
One of my friends says they're starting in July. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. But that's because people are working. You got most families have two people working.
Yeah.
And so, summers kind of mess them up a little bit, especially if they have younger children, because then they have to figure out, childcare and stuff like that. And so school is, a different option for them. So they almost prefer it. We're always opposite. We're like, nah, that's not us. But
what we do appreciate about quote unquote the school year is what structure brings for our family and what it brings for our productivity, what it brings for honor and respect in our family, and what it really does just for us to all be on the same game plan, go in the same place.
Yeah, I think for all of us, I mean, if there's something we should talk about today, it's just the realization that for any person, I think, on the planet, that loose schedules create loose discipline, right? And I know for me, if I don't have a good schedule going to, then I get kind of out of whack also, you know what I mean? And then things aren't getting done. And then next thing you know, it's like, I don't know why, you just get lazier and lazier and a little bit more flippant. And, I don't know, like the more time freedom you have sometimes that doesn't have a structure, it's just part of human nature. So when you throw in 6 kids in our household that haven't really necessarily had to have a set structure, I mean, it adds up over time. And so, like you said, now it's time to just kind of start reeling it in, start getting it back on track. I mean, we're starting to really realize it because you and I are getting to the point now where we're starting to get a little annoyed by the lack of discipline. And, it's simple things. Like you were taking some of the kids, they wanted to go play tennis with their friends that they play on the tennis team. And
they set it up like a week ago.
So they're asking us. So then you have to actually, get up and take them and plan around this and do your whole thing. But then, this morning, here you are taking off and people forgot rackets. They didn't pack anything. Some kids were like, I'm not sure if I want to go now. And it's like, hold the phone. What is happening right now? Because you're going to be late for what you planned around what you're
they
doing
already
with them
wanted.
Because of them just kind of being like, oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that, and that's not really typically like our kids. However, it is like anybody, I think, once you start having looser discipline because you have a looser schedule, right?
Right. That's just one example of what. And then this last week, we were noticing a few other things of just a little bit disrespect and dishonor in our house. I mean, our kids are very respectful, very honoring, but that comes from us keeping it a standard in our house.
Yeah.
And that standard being that, this is how we carry ourselves. This is how our structure looks. This is how we talk to each other. And I kind of realized it like a week or two ago, the way they were talking to each other a little more rudely, which our kids aren't like that. You know what I mean? But they were kind of getting flippant and rude and like irritable with each other. And I kind of chucked it up to late nights because they've had some pretty late nights with some, ping pong tournaments and late night basketball and, all the stuff that kids love to do in the summer, which we love watching them enjoy that kind of stuff. But at first I was chucking it up to that. And then I realized, no, they're just getting flippant with each other. They're kind of like rudely responding to each other.
Yep.
They're like not being as patient with each other. They're not being as respectful to each other. And I kind of corrected a few of it and they kind of looked at me like, oh, sorry. And I'm like, no, we're going to discuss this. But then it kind of flowed onto us a little bit. And that's when I was like, this is not going to work.
Yeah, and so with us right now, here we are sitting here. You and I were talking earlier today, and decided that we would talk about this in a podcast because the reality is none of us are perfect, and we, as a family, probably got away from some of our core values this summer. Because of summertime fun, etc. And we did a team meeting last night, which we like to do.
Yeah, and we went through our whole placemat, and people can get that off of our website if you guys want to go check it out.
Yeah, redwoodparenting.com. But we ended up going through it, and I even noticed that when we were going through it, some of the structure we have within it, we've been a little bit flippant with too. So we haven't been doing our consistent team meetings each week. Then even when we've been doing them, like every third week lately, we haven't even gone through everything fully. We haven't gone through recognition like we like to do, where we like to recognize each other and have each other recognize each other with all of our family values. So we're constantly reinforcing what our family values are. A lot of them are things like honor mom and dad, honor each other, take care of your stuff with a great attitude. Like there's a lot of things that we build in that create that kind of structure and proper family dynamic and culture in our family. And because we haven't been reinforcing it, even though we've been doing this for years, it's amazing watching it start dipping. And so it's just a really good reminder again to us that, this stuff, this, it's like building culture in your home. It's like anything. It's like a muscle, and if you stop working it out, it's going to get weaker. And that's exactly what's happening. I remember we've been taught this in all of our different journeys of learning success, but nothing's a plateau. Like it's either growing or dying. Everything, your connection with your kids, your connection with each other, your physical health, and even culture in your home. It's either getting better or it's getting worse every week, but it doesn't just stay the same. And so now how are we going to plan on fixing this?
Well, and that's it. Greg and I, first of all, had to have a discussion and kind of recognize it both ourselves, and actually bring some things to each other. It was interesting because the other day I had brought some things to you and you're like, I'm so glad because I hadn't seen this, so we had an honest conversation, you and I, about kind of what's happening in our house, what you were seeing, what I was seeing, and discussing it, not involving the kids in that discussion, you and I first, making sure we had the whole perspective of what was happening. So that was our first thing. Yep. We always feel like the number one thing you should do is be on the same page as husband and wife.
Yep.
So as things were starting to kind of show its color, you and I came together, we discussed it, made sure we were on the same page, seeing the same thing, realizing the same thing, having input from each other so that we could, kind of take this on as a team. Mm-hmm. So that was our first goal with this whole thing.
Yep.
And then next, of course, our game plan how are we going to start making changes? Like we both have to back each other. We have to make sure with these changes, we're on the same page. So like naturally in our house, I'm one that, goes to bed earlier and you're typically one that stays up later. So are we ready now to say, hey, the kids are going to bed at this time? Mm-hmm. Like the house is shutting down at this time.
Yep.
Because if you're still like, hey, I want 3 more weeks of fun. And I'm like, hey, let's snip it in 2. We got to come up with what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And so that's our next game plan is we're going to find out the date that you and I want to implement all the changes that are going on.
Right.
And then after that, we're going to look at what changes need to be implemented. Like, where do we see the weaknesses right now? Like, again, for us, some of it's like cleaning up their stuff, being on time when we're leaving for things and being prepared ahead of time, how to talk to each other and respect each other, how they're talking to honor us. And we're going to have some examples for the kids so they actually can see what we're seeing. Not some general conversation. We want to be specific with our kids. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not specific and they don't really understand what you're bringing up, by nature, they're going to think it doesn't involve them. They start being like, oh, so some other kid did that. And we're like, actually, it was you, And we don't ever talk to our kids to embarrass them or put them down or make them feel less than. That is never the case for us. We always are there to help guide them back into who they originally are, which are amazing children of God. We want to remind them who they are. So nobody's in trouble here. We're all just cleaning up a little bit of the mess that we all created. And so I think with that, having all those examples that we really can talk to them about will make them realize that what we're talking about is really happening versus us just making up something. Mm-hmm. And so those are the first couple steps. And then from there, we'll be able to talk about a couple more, but maybe you want to add something to those 3 before we...
No, I mean, again, I think for sure we're going to, one of the things that you and I did, we've been doing a lot of work in the last couple of days, is we've been looking at our calendar for the next, 8 months or so here. Mm-hmm. And we're spacing out, okay, between sports and sports schedules, when are the games, when is our travel trips, what's our business trips, Okay, there are some fun things we'd like to do. Like we just scheduled a Boise State football game, We thought about maybe doing like one of the local AAA baseball games. Didn't work in our schedule. We know that we want to honor your parents with visiting them in Michigan and at Thanksgiving. So we just figured out dates for that. And now we're pretty much set with our schedule. And so we're not adding more things anymore. We're pretty much as full as we want to be at this point. But that's an important thing, I think. Like, it's just you and I being on the same page about what's coming up. We know then if kids have an idea of wanting to do something, we know to say no, and there's no big deal. And we can even start promoting the things we have on our calendar in the future, because then, you get to build up the excitement towards it along the way. And so big calendar, part of the thing is going to be also, all right, our team meetings we'll get really consistent with these again, because that gives us the chance to keep talking about all these things we're talking about, right? And to do it consistently.
Yeah, that's good. In fact, maybe we can talk more about that on the next one.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening and thanks for your love and support. We hope that today's episode added tremendous value to you and your family. It would mean so much to us if you would partner with us on our mission of helping parents around the globe raise champion children in this crazy world.
To do so, simply take a moment to like and share this podcast with everyone in your network. See you next time.